order at 4:01 in the afternoon. Our first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak to the traffic authority? Okay, none being there, we will start with our business agenda. And the first item is the approval of the minutes for the meeting of September 16th. Could I have a motion to discuss that?
So move for approval of the meeting of
the minutes?
Of the minutes.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, we've had
of September the 16th.
September the 16th. We have had that motion. Is there any discussion or comments or corrections?
I have none, Commissioner.
I have none, Commissioner.
I have none, Commissioner.
Okay, seeing that there are no comments or corrections, I move, and those who are voting for the approval of the minutes, please let it be known by aye.
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 Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. So it has been approved. I need the second item, which is the proposed meeting schedule for 2025.
I'll move that forward. Item two.
It has been moved by Commissioner Palladino to approve the meeting schedule for 2025. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
I have none.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, the ayes have it. The schedule for 2024 meetings is,
25.
2025, excuse me, has been approved. All right, our third item. Could someone, I'm sorry. Chief, did you have something to say?
No, I did not, ma'am.
Okay. Kyle, could you put the agenda on the screen? Because
Yeah, of
I'm using
course.
my phone and it's a little difficult.
Can you see that, ma'am?
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
All right, item 3, approve the full closure for the 2024 election Jefferson School voting location. I need a motion to discuss that.
I moved item 3 for discussion of the annual RCA Turkey Trot event on November 28, 2024.
No, item 3.
Item 3 is
Item
approved.
3.
Oh, that's full
Commissioner.
closure, right?
Yes, that's the full closure of the 2024 election. Do you want to change that?
I'm sorry, I thought
Lopez?
that's what I moved. I thought I moved item 3. Was I incorrect?
Yeah, I think you're looking at the minutes from the last meeting.
Maybe I am.
We're on the agenda for October.
I apologize. Because I move item 3, approve the full closure for the 2024 election Jefferson School voting location. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Okay, thank you for moving that item. The person who is to speak on this is,
I don't think they're here, Commissioner. I don't see them in the lobby, but I can speak for them on this.
all right, thank you.
Yeah. So the register of voters came to the traffic department the other day. They are using the Jefferson School as a voting booth for the upcoming election on the 5th of November. They already have cops that are going to be stationed there to direct traffic, as they'll be having a number of users parking here in this parking lot here to then come up the hill and come up to vote over here. And they're also going to be having a shuttle service, I believe, that'll take voters from this lot up to here because that hill is fairly large. They had come to us about a safety concern. Grandview Avenue, they had said, has had some vehicles that go fairly quickly down the street to get to the highways. As we looked at the speeds, and it does seem to concur with that. So they had come to us and asked if they could close the street to local traffic only between there. It shouldn't affect anything as they'll leave it open past the Tilba driveway, and these houses will be able to get to the street. So they asked if they could just close that as a way to make the voters feel a little safer as they cross the street there, and that'll direct traffic around. I had asked them to contact with the police. I know they already have officers, so I'm not sure if it'll be an issue or not. So I'll let Chief Walsh talk on that. But from a traffic perspective, we thought it seemed like a relatively okay request. So
They'll be directed through where? Through Prospect? Is that what it's a little small. Can you expand it a little bigger?
yeah, sorry, Commissioner. So they're gonna be parking in this lot off of Springview Avenue
Yep.
and then walking up the sidewalk,
Yep.
and then they'll be crossing in this yellow area.
Yep, okay.
I don't know exactly where the officer is, but they had
But
said
the
they had-
traffic, going back to the traffic and the local, need to access houses. and
Yes,
so forth.
yes, sorry. So Commissioner, there's two houses here.
Yep.
A little blurry. But that access would be maintained as part of this. So
Okay, they would still have access there.
yes.
And so what happens to Grandview coming down? Do they come through Prospect? How's that?
Yeah, so they would be directed down Prospect and then to Bedford.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Commission, we've had several election planning meetings, and this is the first we've heard of this closure. When I saw this earlier, we did have a couple problems with it because it's in the middle road closure. And the two officers that were hired they're there for security, not traffic direction.
Mhm.
With this expected election attendance, we put two officers at each school for security, added security, as many municipalities are doing. So we were not expecting to do any traffic because this was not planned. So this is the first we're hearing of it. So that's where we stand on this right now. If this is a go, we're going to have more police officers out there because we can't have security officers who are supposed to be making sure everything going okay in the parking lot with people coming in and out, traversing the election area, and then also directing traffic at the same time.
So, Mr. Benjamin, is there a reason why the police department was not included in the discussion and planning for this closure before including it on the agenda for today?
It was my understanding, ma'am, that they were going to go to the police. I got this notice on Thursday of last week. It was my understanding that they were going to go and discuss with the police. So I understand Chief Walsh's concerns, and I can concur with that. We can send them back to the police to see if it's feasible to do. We're from a traffic perspective, we understand the concern, but we also, we understand we need the police to be able to do it. So if we need to send them back, we'll send them back.
Well, we're 2 weeks away from the election.
Right.
So I think that time is sort of the essence. So if this is approved by the commission, we're just going to have to hire more officers to handle that specific traffic detail and not divert the security details. But we could do that. And the closure is probably going to have to go from Grandview, diverting traffic traveling east on Grandview to go down Prospect Street.
Right.
And then anybody going up Grandview is going to have to take a right on Springview towards Spring Hill.
Mhm.
So we're going to need cones and such like that. So as long as it's put in the minutes that we will be hiring extra 2 officers and the closures will be at Springview and Prospect.
Now, the day you are referring to, Mr. Benjamin, is that the registrar's office?
Yes, that is the registrar's office.
Okay, please make them aware that for
Of course.
closures of streets like this, for an event that's going to be involving so many people, it is vitally important that they talk with the police department before placing it on our agenda.
Understood, ma'am. We concur.
Okay, so Mr. Commissioner Lopez, would you like to amend that motion?
Yes. Let me go back to the thing here, make sure I have the right one.
This is item number 3, the
Yep.
closure for full closure of the 2024 election.
Yep. I move that item number 3 for the approval of the full closure of the 2024 election Jefferson School voting location be subject to the Norwalk Police Department's review and need for coordination of traffic, since that was not considered by Norwalk City Hall's registrar's office. And there is, of course, the need to facilitate the coordination of traffic, since what they had in mind was the security.
Okay, and that is of necessary,
And pending the chief's
yes,
coordination with traffic. Is
okay,
that correct?
and hiring of extra officers.
Correct. And
Right.
hiring of extra officers. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Deputy Chief Blake does point out a good point. This is it's gonna cause congestion. What we're freeing up on Grandview is gonna cause congestion in other areas. Because you're gonna have a lot of voters parked in the Jefferson lot at the corner of Bedford and Van Buren. So if we divert traffic down Prospect, have them take a left on Bedford, we're gonna have mingling traffic from the road closure going onto Bedford Avenue, and then people exiting out of that lower parking lot that runs adjacent to Van Buren. So we are creating bottlenecks. And
Mr. Benjamin, to Commissioner Collier Clemens' point, about them coordinating in advance with the police department, I would add, again, 2 weeks is not it.
Yeah.
We're talking here, this should have been probably, if you think about it, the timing of it, at our last meeting.
No, I agree, Commissioner.
Okay, well, we are here now, and the motion has been made in coordination with the police department. All in favor of the motion? Yes, Chief.
because Commissioner, I would just like, Deputy Chief Blake, do you think it would be more feasible to leave the road open and just hire officers to cross the traffic?
Yeah, Chief, I would concur with that idea. I think with the crosswalk that's in place right there, which is relatively new and has traffic controls, I think one officer assigned to that intersection at Grandview and Van Buren would probably be more appropriate than trying to do a road closure, which I think again will fix one problem and create 2 others.
Excuse me. Deputy Chief Blake, you're saying to have an officer there at that intersection of Van Buren and Bedford Avenue and not close Grandview? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Commissioner, my suggestion would be to keep Grandview open and have an officer stationed at the intersection of Grandview Avenue and Van Buren Avenue. The intersection has a large crosswalk. It has traffic controls for that crosswalk. And with an officer stationed there, the officer can safely cross pedestrian traffic throughout the day and evening.
Good.
Yeah, I think added closures will add to the confusion and, shall I say, the hectic days. It's going to be a busy day already. So I think any closures that we put in or around the school, I don't think we want to close roads go en route to a polling station. I think we want to leave those free access to everybody. And what we can do is control the pedestrian control coming from Springview to Jefferson School to conduct their elections. And it's my recommendation that we leave Grandview Avenue open.
That makes total sense to me, especially when we're talking about voting. We definitely don't want to undermine that.
Absolutely not. Okay, Commissioner Lopez, would you like to cancel your motion? And
Yes, so I amend, give me a moment while I just go back there because I don't have it in, hold on for a second. where was it? I amend item 3 for the approval of the full closure for the 2024 election Jefferson School voting location to instead have officers at the crosswalk of Grandview Avenue to safely patrol pedestrian crossing to and from the school parking lot, and thereby leaving traffic flow open and not inhibiting any such traffic to get to the polling place.
And could you also add that any other bottlenecks that the police department see
Yes. Yep.
will occur?
And subject to the Norwalk Police Department's review of any potential bottleneck that may again undermine the traffic flow to the voting poll.
Okay. Commissioners, you've heard the motion. Are you ready to vote?
I am.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. The ayes have it. This is approved for as amended. All right, our next item is item 4. Could someone move that discussion, please?
I'll move item 4 for the approve the full closure for DPW's Lockwood Lane drainage improvement.
All right, and who's to speak on this item?
So I'm Dan Stanton. I'm one of the senior engineers with DPW. We drafted a letter here describing what we have going on.
Excuse me, just a moment. Could you make that a little larger so that we could see it? Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So just want to correct the typo. Obviously, we're closing about 300 feet of George Avenue from Lockwood to Beisel to perform a needed drainage improvement project in that neighborhood. We are adding about 5 large structures and a little over 300 feet of pipe between the crossings there. There are various utilities in that road, and reviewing with our contractor, this is their proposal for a detour route. We've had TMP look at it, and I know our principal engineer, Jim, and Deputy Chief Blake spoke about this several days ago for that. So if you're familiar with the area, Stu Leonard's would be at the top of the screen at Westport Avenue, Route 1. So people coming down George using that as a collector would be notified both by a VMS board just prior to construction starting, so they could be aware. There would be additionally the road closed to through traffic signage with a detour at Highview, excuse me. And then we would additionally have the road closed at Beisel with detour arrows and detour signage if someone was coming back to Clearview before they get to Bettswood and out ultimately to East Avenue. So that detour is approximately 4 to 5 minutes, again, depending on the time of day. If someone's coming from, say, Strawberry Hill or East Norwalk, they would be turned and have access, coming off of Tierney onto George. They would have full access on Lockwood, as the work at that point would be substantially complete for the drainage. And, upon reaching East Avenue, they would be, detoured appropriately to the north for that.
All right, commissioners, are there questions
Yes.
regarding? Okay.
So we have the traffic that's coming up through City Hall on Sunset Avenue and East Avenue, coming all the way up through Tierney, right? And
Correct.
they're making a left where it says there in a narrow road closed to through traffic. Is that correct?
That is the plan. That's the first signage, yes.
Okay. So they're not going to be able to make a left on George Avenue, right?
They would, but then they would be detoured at
So,
Lockwood.
so before they get to Tierney Street, then, before they get there, will they be alerted of such at some point? I'm just trying to get to the point where they've figured out, gee, I came this far and I'm gonna be reverted all the way back to East Avenue. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
How do we maybe try to mitigate that? Is there, if there's a way, I don't know.
it's quite a long detour to take, Strawberry Hill over to Route 1, if that is ultimately their destination. That's adding, additional detour signs. It could be done if the commission feels
Yeah,
that.
all I'm just saying is because you're gonna have a long string of people use that road. It's a heavy road sometimes because I do it myself, and I'm just wondering if you go to Suns Hill Avenue, right? And when your thought is I'm gonna go through local traffic and make a left on George Avenue, and I didn't know. I mean, I know now, but I'm saying I didn't know. Then I'm gonna be reverted all the way back down to East Avenue, is what you're saying. And I'm just thinking here, is there a way that we can tell people, hey, don't go up this rate if that's your intention? And if so, then where do we do that? I don't know. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just, it is what it is.
I think Commissioner Lopez, you have a very, very good observation. If I were going down East Avenue and I want to get to Stu Leonard's through the George Avenue, before I get to Sunset Hill and make that turn, I need to know that George is going to be closed and I'm going to be detoured back to East Avenue. I could save time by continuing on East Avenue.
Right. That's my point. I
So
could just avoid the whole matter.
That needs to be included. From Strawberry Hill, there needs to be a sign there if people are coming. I guess that's north on Strawberry Hill.
Or on East Avenue corner saying George Avenue is closed on East Avenue. I don't know.
Yeah, on East Avenue and also on Strawberry Hill. Say if they were going to make a left turn there to go down George Avenue to get to Stu Leonard.
Understood. There would be, in my hearing, there would be a sign you're requesting at East Avenue and one both northbound predominantly on those roads.
Yes.
Indicating George is closed, that they should continue on their current route, and hopefully people, understand that. And then.
Yeah, because that people do that. I mean, I've done it, and I'm not the only one. I mean, I know that. So if they're alerted on East Avenue, like you said, they'll continue straight on East Avenue. They won't bother. And it'll loosen up that traffic for those local residents that wouldn't care to see a backup.
Understood.
Okay.
Are there other questions regarding either the work or the duration?
Have the affected homes been notified in writing?
So the affected homes were not notified because we realized that this would be something that we should discuss with you. Our contractor is a fair distance away. We want to, assure, as we said in the letter, that those homes would have access. It just simply would be the through traffic that would be detoured. So the way, we've recommended to the homes on Lockwood is that they, turn away from where we are with the work as we're moving up the road. So this is a similar messaging that we would, convey to them when the work is done to get that drain pipe in.
How long is this planned from the 16th of December to the 30th?
So
correct?
that we would like to amend in conversation with the police to January 6th to January 31st. We recognize that this work is proposed during the winter, and obviously weather permitting, we may not be as productive as we would otherwise hope. The same way with reopening, the road. Obviously, we would not keep the road closed any longer than we need to for this project. As soon as we can make it safe with temporary pavement through there and the structures, we would be reopening.
So now you're saying your time is gonna move from 2 weeks to possibly 6 weeks?
No, the 4 weeks of January.
I'm sorry, I missed that. The 4 weeks of what?
January, so January 6th through January 31st. Our contractor originally proposed the dates based on their schedule, saying the end of December. We just wanted to be transparent with the commission. There is other work that they can do, or there's simply work that they won't be allowed to do. And obviously, this is a road that does see traffic, near the end of the calendar year.
So the period, not only is it being changed to January, which I understand that part, but what you're saying is going from 2 weeks, from the 16th to the 30th, is now it's going for more like 4 weeks, the better part or all part of January, correct?
So yeah, the half a week at the end of January, we anticipate it being done during that duration.
I'm sorry, you lost me. The latter part, give me some dates, I'm clear.
No, so January 6th is a Monday and January 31st is a Thursday.
So that whole period will be a closed down, practically the whole month, am I right? 3 weeks,
Correct.
okay.
Are there any other questions by the commissioners?
And that can't be reduced, is what you're saying, correct?
Based on the productivity and the risk of weather, that's where we feel comfortable asking for that duration from the commission.
Right, so you're allowing for weather, but if weather permits, the time period might be shortened. Is that what you're suggesting?
Correct. There's no reason to keep the road closed longer than that duration.
And why did you feel it not necessary to notify the affected homes?
So because, again, the question here with them being aware of the project, but not necessarily aware of this proposal for how we're performing the work. So the detour we felt was a question, for the commission, and we believe we can communicate with them and give them access, throughout the project the way we typically do with any drainage project, temporarily or otherwise closing, the roadway at their house. There would be space for them to park and, plated to cross as needed.
Quite frankly, the move from December to January is favorable in that is a holiday period. And so, yes, you anticipate more traffic during the holiday period, but then the time period was expanded, at least to account for the weather, like you're saying. That was just a comment.
This proposal for this item it's almost a new proposal other than what you're doing. As far as the timing, the time limits, the increase in the amount of time, the non-notification of the residents that are going to be affected by more traffic coming through their neighborhood. It seems to me that we need to may have a motion to table this and get a better constructed letter that reflects all of your intentions and get it back to us. If it needs to be a special meeting for this because of time, we can do that. But as it is, it doesn't reflect everything that needs to be done as far as detours and resident notification. So I think it needs to be reworked and represented to us.
So
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
My only concern, Commissioner Collier Clemens, that I'm not speaking, of course, on behalf of them, of Mr. Stanton, but sometimes, as you probably know, just like with any construction, there are contracts that are in place. If anything gets pushed down, so will the date. So I'll let him speak to that and address that. And I don't know if perhaps we should just, readdress the motion if necessary, if that has an adverse effect on contracts and so forth. But I'll let him address that.
So the contractor has calendar days that they're performing work. There are other areas either of the project that they can work. So I think that addresses, that issue. So also the reason to bring it to you in October is, the work wouldn't be scheduled and, at this time until December. We had that discussion, and deciding that January is a better period of time, with the exception of weather, as we know, we have no control over that. And then, we would be able to come back to you, and appreciate the comments about the notifications to the immediate neighbors. And the question just would be notifications to the streets specifically affected by the detour route, or multiple areas within this map.
Mhm. Okay. I just have a question. Now, they're gonna be putting in those 3 feet pipes, right? Is that-
Correct.
Okay, so when you cover those pipes up, you are not going to be able to put asphalt right now, is that correct?
So there's access to asphalt plants in New York State during the duration, when this work is proposed. That would be another concern of ours, having that road paved in particular, right? Like, as we know, the city has rules regarding work, during the winter season, right? That leaving plates out there, or how we pave, right? So the concern would be is that it would be gravel. Both winter maintenance may be an issue, and or not being able to pave that, let's say through a weekend or something like that. So that's why we're looking to establish a formal detour in this location, because of those unknowns.
So
this
what
was.
you're saying is that the roads will have gravel and then you'll come back in the spring? And
No, we would pave
pave
it
it?
temporarily during the winter, before opening the road.
when
at
you say
George.
temporarily, what does that mean with regard to the actual finished product?
Yeah, so there's two stages to this, right? Like, we're able to establish a paved surface and then do the permanent pavement repair beyond the width of the trench that is present there. We make our utilities restore the road after the fact. The temporary pavement is substantially the same thickness, the same width as the trench, and maintained by the contractor until such time as permanent pavement restoration can occur.
Now, during the winter months, while that temporary gravel is placed there, does that create any problem in case there's snow?
The contractor has promised us that they would maintain passable condition for those residents, right? So they have both an incentive to get that done and to have segments available for those residents during that time.
Mm-hmm. Because in addition to the residents, that area is well used. And I'm just wondering, I guess this project is on the books to take place sooner rather than later. And so anything that you do is really going to be somewhat temporary in terms of the finish. Again, as I said, particularly since you're not planning on, we don't know what the weather's gonna be like, but even if the weather's good during the winter months, I heard you say you can get asphalt, but is that a good time to put asphalt down?
So that's again why it would be a temporary state, right? Like there's not following, normal quality procedures that we use for that. But we do feel with the weather conditions and the window that we're asking for, that we would have weather that would allow us to patch that segment of road for opening, and then we would be back in the spring to do the permanent pavement restoration.
That restoration in the spring will take how much longer?
So the restoration in the spring would be portions of several days. We believe in those conditions that we can maintain one lane, alternating traffic at that, unless there's circumstances that either the commission or the traffic control officers, feel implementing of this detour could be used again at that time.
Will
So we
you
would-
also seek to coordinate, at least, notify, if you will, the emergency, the hospitals, the ambulance that may use that? I don't know, even DPW, I'm sure with the snow coming down. I mean, I'm just trying to understand if there's a level of coordination.
Correct. There's the universal road closure email that copies a significant number of staff for the city, and already have had conversations with operations, because this project is expected to work on local roads with alternating traffic through the winter. But at this location, because of the structures, the depth, and the type of road this is, we felt a formal detour and closure was necessary.
And would there be also the use of police personnel,
Correct.
presumably?
We would have police at each end during the day.
You'd have police at which end?
So they would be at Beisel and at Lockwood. So the two locations central on the screen.
Lockwood and which other place?
Beisel, it's the side street to the west of George. So the blue line is on Lockwood. I apologize for obstructing the road name.
I guess you have had similar experiences having to do work during the winter months.
Yes, last winter we were doing work on Dreamy Hollow and other times. It's been advantageous for the city to allow her to continue work through the winter.
I have one question. When you said before you'd have to come back, of course, in the spring because of the asphalt restrictions and the weather, any reason, and there might be a very legitimate reason, but any reason why we can't push this to where it could all be done in the spring?
So the connection to Heather Lane is really the portion. So on the map, I want to say sheet 3 of what we have, you'll see a pipe going to the top of the page. That's the new connection into Heather Lane, and really the relief, for the drainage work. So without that connection, all the work that could occur and needs to occur on Heather to relieve the flooding would have nowhere to go. There's currently a pipe that comes off of Heather that we will be maintaining after this project is over, but this is the improvement route for this phase of the Lockwood Lane and Heather neighborhood connection.
Right, so there's a distress issue that needs to be immediately addressed, is what you're saying.
the neighbors there and the city feel that this project is worthy to relieve the risk and mitigate flooding there.
Right, sooner than later.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
We've had a really good in-depth discussion here. Commissioner Lopez, would you amend
That was
your,
Commissioner Sumter, I believe.
did
That,
Commissioner something?
is that right?
Okay. All right. This is item 4 or 3? Item,
This is item 4.
okay, so you want to amend the
Your,
approval for full closure for the DPW Lockwood
Yes.
Lane drainage improvement?
yes,
Okay. Based on what the
New
City-
dates.
department believe is the best way to handle this at this time.
Changing the dates.
changing the dates in there.
Do we have any, I'm sorry to interrupt, but do we have any comments from the Norwalk Police Department, from the staff at all?
I believe Deputy Chief Blake had spoken to the contractors previously in preparation for this meeting. So if Deputy Chief Blake has comments, he could add to the conversation.
But commissioners, the only thing Deputy Chief Lepore and I had noted was that the original dates would be in serious conflict to have that road closed with the holiday traffic, specifically the exit out of Stu Leonard's that forces you up George Avenue. So we had suggested it going later after the holidays are over, so that we would not fight with that issue, again, causing more issues of traffic from Westport Avenue all the way over. That
Which
was
I
the only thing we brought up.
Which I suggested the move from December to January. Yes, it's favorable because of that very holiday traffic. Other than that, is there anything else?
No, sir. This is a necessary project to assist the residents up there, so we don't have any other issues.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I need the motion amended to include the change of dates from January the 6th through January 31st, if necessary. A letter that would be constructed to reflect that, take into consideration all of the suggestions for road closures and detours, and bring it back to us before we make an approval on it. Could I have a motion for that?
Okay, so the motion will be approved. I mean, the motion will include from January 6th to January the 31st. And it is a motion based on the approval of the closure by DPW of Lockwood Lane drainage improvement. Is that clear?
I understand with what I have to bring back to you. Yes.
Okay, so
And when does that have to be returned by the, you said that we could have a special meeting if necessary?
if necessary.
Okay, so the information requested would be returned to the commission?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion is approved and carried.
Thank you all.
Item number 5, approve proposed 15-minute. I need to move that item.
I'll move that item forward. Approve 15-minute parking regulation on Cove Avenue.
All right, who is to speak on this item?
Good afternoon, commissioners. This is Ben Young, a senior traffic engineer with TMP. So We had received a request from the Norwalk Police Department, specifically Community Police Officer Rollin Amparo. So he was speaking on behalf of the businesses there. This is Cove Avenue between First Street and Second Street. There's a number of businesses here, including a small grocery store and deli called Harbor Harvest. There's a wine store just down the block called the Wine Basket. There's BJ Ryan's East, which has some takeout services. So the request was for 2 parking spaces with a 15-minute limit. The current regulation is 2 hours. So this would just take a bite out of that 2 parking spaces with this new 15-minute maximum regulation. This would be enforced only during daytime hours, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday. It would not be metered. That is, the whole stretch of the street would still be free to park in. It would just be time limited. So again, this is to support sufficient parking turnover for the local businesses. So we did some investigation, and we found that this request was valid. And we also did some door-to-door outreach for every residence and business on both sides of the street for the entire block. This was about 10 days ago. We left written letters with the proposal for each of these residences and businesses, and we have not received any complaints thus far.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
No, I think at least the homework seemed to have been done, and moreover, as I look at the diagram, the picture diagram, I mean, on the opposite side of the street, the entire unrestricted parking blue line, I mean, that should, I think, be sufficient to at least support the need for off-street parking. At least I hope. Would you concur?
Yeah, it looks like we're not taking away any parking. It's just we're
Right.
limiting the amount of time. So, I mean, I think
That's
that would be
correct.
good for the businesses. Any of the other commissioners have any comments,
I'm just,
observations?
yes, with regard to the 15-minute limit, that is now in front of Harbor.
Harbor Harvest.
Yes. Now, the red line that's up to the corner of First Avenue, is that parking, or is what goes on?
That's no parking anytime. So that's to basically safely make sure that there's safe sight lines at that intersection corner there.
Mhm.
So that's standard. It's just a little bit longer at this particular approach because there's a lot of turning traffic coming northbound on Cove Avenue up to First Street.
Right, okay, all right. And the business on the corner of First Avenue and Cove Avenue, First Street and Cove Avenue, they don't need any parking because you can actually pull into the off-street parking, or it's just needed really for the liquor store?
So the business at First Street at the corner there is BJ Ryan's East, and yeah, they have that head-on diagonal parking off street.
Okay.
And the liquor store, the wine store, which is on Second Street and Cove Avenue, they also have some off-street parking, but it is somewhat limited. So I think that this extra 15-minute parking regulation will serve all the businesses well.
Okay, all right, I got it.
I'm
Yeah,
just
that's
curious,
Harbor Harvest.
how does it get enforced? I mean, not that it really matters, but how does it get enforced?
So, for the most part, 15 minutes is definitely on the tougher side to enforce, but the parking authority, what we're working on right now is having the ability for the parking authority to enforce citywide parking regulations, not just the metered parking regulations in certain, you know, downtown districts. But we're working on writing and passing an ordinance that will allow them to do this citywide. So as of right now, if there was a problem, the business owners or residents that see this happen often, as you know, if they see that that people are not following the time limit, they have the opportunity to call NPD and enforce the time limit. But going forward, to save on police resources, our hope is that the parking authority, aka Laz Parking, which is our vendor for parking, they'll be able to do this themselves and free up some police resources.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any concerns from the police department, Chief Walsh?
No concern, Commissioner.
Okay. I have no idea how long it would be for the parking authority to their territory to be expanded. But usually if the community and the businesses are in favor of this and brought this to your attention, they're going to be looking at who's
Yeah,
up, you know, observing the 50-minute limit.
yeah, we'll
And
be
they will-
updating all the signage, of course, to make sure that it's clear what the regulation is on all sides of the block.
And when would this take place?
When
Would this
would the-
become effective?
At best, probably within a month. We need to make sure that we have all the proper signage in place. Then we'll do a proper CBYD, or call before you dig, investigation to make sure that new signage posts are not going to be affected by any underground utilities, and then we'll actually install the signs in the sidewalk in an appropriate place.
Okay. Are there any other observations, questions, and readiness by the commissioners?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay.
I have no.
All right. Well, all in favor of approving this item number 5, the 15-minute parking on Cove Avenue, let it be known by aye.
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 Opposers? The ayes have it, and that is approved. Thank you so much, Mr. Young. All right, our next item is number 6. Could I have a motion for moving of that?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve item number 6, which has to do with the OSTA letter, speed limit change. And the schools, I guess it's in a school zone on Strawberry Hill Avenue.
All right, and who is speaking to this?
So that'll also be me, Ben Young.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So the intent here is to set a consistent state-approved speed limit for all of Strawberry Hill Avenue. So this is going to be along its length from Winfield all the way to Wolf Pit Avenue. As you may know, Strawberry Hill Avenue, it runs along several Norwalk public schools, Norwalk High, which also includes P-Tech, Narragansett Elementary, and Nathan Hale Middle School. So for this reason, there's a lot of pedestrian and bicyclist activity along Strawberry Hill Avenue. We actually have some on-street bike lanes along most of its length. We have a lot of crossing of Strawberry Hill Avenue, both by students and by residents who live in the area. There's a lot of closely spaced single-family homes and driveways along the length of Strawberry Hill Avenue. So speed is one of the major concerns of both residents and parents who are in this area. So we'd like to set a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit along the entire length of Strawberry Hill Avenue. And while we don't have an OSTA or state-approved school zone currently in this area. What we'd like to do going forward is establish one. So this proposal doesn't include the school zone per se, but it will set us up for doing further investigation into enhanced school zone measures like either flashers or rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which are the crosswalk flashers, and possibly further speed limit reduction on some of the side streets. We can go probably as low as 20 miles per hour on certain streets. So we'd like to investigate that. So as a first step, we'd just like to establish this consistent speed limit along Strawberry Hill Avenue at 25 miles per hour. It's already 25 actually on County Street and King Street and William Street, which intersect with Strawberry Hill.
Ben, is it also up to Norwalk High? Because I know you mentioned PTEC.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
And currently it's 30 miles.
Yeah, currently it's 30 miles per hour. There's some fine prints that during certain hours it can be 25 miles per hour, but we'd like to make it 25 miles per hour at all times of day along its entire length, just to make it more understandable for drivers what the expectation is for them as they go along the road. To have it changed from 30 in one section to 25 in another, we think is not ideal.
Okay. Are there any concerns from the police department with this proposal, as you can see it? Chief?
Hold on, trying to get my camera back on.
Okay.
I do not have any issue with this proposal. It's anywhere we could slow speeds down and all could be a benefit.
Okay. Are there any more questions or discussions or observations from the commissioners?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
All right. Well, we're ready to vote on the approval of item number 6. Approve the OSTA letter for speed limit changes. All in favor? Let it be known by
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Opposers? The ayes have it. That is approved. Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
Item 7. Should I have someone to move that item for discussion?
I move item 7, Commissioner, to approve the OSTA letter for speed limit changes in the Rowayton area.
All right, and this is Mr. Young again?
Yes, that's me again. So
Okay,
more basically making speed limits consistent with what drivers are either already doing or what they should be doing. So the two key roads here are Bluff Avenue and Old Trolley Way. So these are collector roadways, which means that they carry a bit more traffic through the Rowayton neighborhood. So Bluff Avenue, it does have some problems with speeding. So we're seeing 85th percentile speeds, a little bit above 30 miles per hour. What we'd like to do is establish a 25 mile per hour speed limit along this roadway. Basically we discovered this because we wanted to replace some speed limit signs, and then we realized that the speed limit wasn't officially designated as 25 miles per hour. So we believe that establishing that 25 mile per hour speed limit on Bluff Avenue makes sense. On Old Trolley Way, it's a road that already has some speed humps as you're entering the Rowayton neighborhood coming off of MLK and Wilson Ave. So making that road officially 25 miles per hour is also a no-brainer in our opinion. And the rest of the roads on this list, these are all local residential roads that people live on, walk right on the street for. So it makes sense that these should not have a speed limit any higher than 25 miles per hour either. So we'd like to just establish this neighborhood as kind of a slower zone, and getting all these streets to be consistently 25 miles per hour is part of that goal.
Okay, are there any questions or comments or observations from the commissioners?
I just have a comment, really. Ben, you mentioned 85 percentile speed. How do you actually get to a percentage of speeding versus non-speeding?
So we have a good source of data. We use this service called Streetlight. It uses GPS data and cellular data from drivers to kind of get an estimate of the travel time or the speeds that they're going on certain roadways within our city. So from using this data, we saw that 85% of the drivers, they travel at 33 miles per hour or lower. So that means that 15% are 33 miles per hour or higher. So when we say 85th percentile, we mean that that's sort of not the most extreme end, but it's kind of the higher end of the range of driver speeds. So traffic engineers, we like to use that 85th percentile as a gauge for what the higher end speeds are, and we can set the speed limits sort of accordingly with those speeds. In this case, we'd like to set a lower target speed of 25 miles per hour, and the speed of 33 miles per hour was measured before we had a recent striping upgrade for shoulder lines, which are meant to narrow the lanes and narrow the perceived width of the road, which is hopefully getting speeds down on Bluff Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions on readiness? The police department, do you have any concerns with this request?
No concerns, Commissioner.
I go through that way all the time trying to get to 95. And one of the things that really concerns me is some years ago, we put in a four-way stop there at Witch Lane to Old Trolley Road, Old Trolley Way. And and then we also put in a 15-mile speed limit on that curve that comes down Witch Lane to that four-way intersection. And invariably, people are going more than 15 miles an hour and they do not stop at the stop sign. What in the world can we do about that? Because there's going to be a really bad accident. Someone almost ran into me, not stopping, turning right off of Old Trolley Way onto Witch Lane. And so
I mean, there are some traffic calming measures we can take. Some easy ones, of course, are things like marking the edge lines to narrow the perceived width of the roadway. As far as the all-way stop controlled intersection, just making sure that the stop ahead signs are visible is that's something we can double check on. I believe there are advanced warning signs for that intersection, but
yeah, there are.
sometimes it's easy for drivers to miss them if they're partially obscured by vegetation. Same thing with the curve warning signs for the 15 miles per hour. And you know, we can definitely enhance the visibility of those by adding reflective strips on the posts. So that's something we'll definitely look into.
And Ben, if I could just cut in longer term solutions as well, Commissioner, as to physical reconstruction of the road and the intersection would help. You know, we would make a plan that would have shorter term solutions, like Ben was saying, and then look at longer term solutions with those upgrades. But Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind sending an email to both Ben and myself with those concerns, we can definitely put that in our customer service system and make sure we have it in our list.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, are there any more concerns? I will entertain a motion for the approval of item 7.
I'll make a motion for approval of item number 7, which has to do with the OSTA letter for a speed limit and changes on Rowayton in the Rowayton area.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. It is approved. Thank you so much for the discussion. All right. Does that conclude our agenda?
That does, Commissioner.
All right, I will entertain a motion for, when is our next meeting? November
18th, I believe.
November 18th, 2024, at 4 p.m. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at this
The meeting is,
of the Traffic Commission.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the meeting is adjourned at 5:08 in the afternoon. Thank you.